Okay. Okay. Okay.
Professionals that we need to understand what is required of us to act with nobility and I would like to invite you for your opening remarks before I introduce our two speakers. And just for quick heads up, our agenda is just very simple. The chairman will give his opening remarks. Thereafter, I will introduce the two speakers, and Mr. Bolu Olariwaju will take it up from there. And thereafter, Mrs. Olufunlola Komolede will give us a presentation and
Okay. Good afternoon. I believe you've ended yours. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank every one of us who are on this platform today, and those who are yet to join. I believe they will join us very soon. I can see the number of participants rising. I want to particularly appreciate our honored guests who will be speaking to us today. Esther Sovio and Bolu, Olariwaju Bolu, and Mrs. Fumilola Akomolede. Thank you very much for sparing your time and the willingness to share your experience, knowledge, and thoughts with us. We really appreciate it. It can't be taken for granted. A young and passionate estate surveyors and valuers initiative was particularly established by the Lagos State branch of Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers to develop the young associates. And we've also had even some senior associates requesting for participation in this. Excuse me, please. And that's the reason why most of the programs are actually open to all members of the institution for now, till they can give, till we can now say, okay, let's retrain our younger ones alone on some key aspects. The focus has always been development in life skills, development in professional skills, which is part of the things we are treating today, development in business skills, and also to encourage collaboration and partnership among these young associates to ensure that they are groomed and grow up to become exceptional professionals who can compete in every area of life in the future. So that has been our goal, and that has been the training model. There are some professional trainings that we will have done, which we hope to do as the lockdown begins to trickle down and public gathering regulations begin to be moderated so that we can allow some of our people. But that notwithstanding, key thing for us at this time is safety, and it will still continue to be safety. So I still want to encourage every member, every participant, and every member of the branch and naives to ensure that we keep the safety rules that are ongoing, that's being expected of us. As professionals, we have to make sure that we are professional in all our undertaking, all our doings. And part of it is maintaining the regulations for safety in this COVID-19 pandemic regime. So while we are doing our businesses, while we are interacting, let's keep maintaining that model, and let's keep developing ourselves in skills, life skills, business skills, professional skills, and continue to collaborate, because that will be what will assist us to achieve some of our goals, especially in this time when you have to maintain social distancing and avoid public gathering. So I believe we are going to have a swell time today with the crop of speakers, resource persons we have. Anybody that is not here might just be missing a lot. But I'll leave the stage for the speakers to really do justice to the purpose of their participation in this event today. Thank you very much, everybody. Yes, Ayo.
Thank you, my chairman. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, I would like to introduce our speakers now. Mr. Olanrewaju Bolu is the senior partner of Bolu Token & Co. and Estate Surveying and Valuation Firm. He's a graduate of the University of She's the chairman TAMS Teams Summit Advisory Board. She's an executive director at Continental Broadcasting Services, owner of TBC Communications. She has over 2 decades experience in information and communication technology as an analyst, a manager, director, and consultant with specialties in project management, financial management, training, product development, research, and testing. Before her appointment at CBS, she was the SR Technical Director at AT&T Telecommunication in Plano, Texas, USA. In that capacity, she was responsible for technology solutions, service delivery, infrastructure support, distribution of wireline and wireless electronics application, and implementation. She studied accounting at the University of Ife, OAU, holds an MBA from DBU University, Texas, as well as a master's in telecommunication from AT&T University. She also has a PMP professional training, project and portfolio management methodology P3MM training in the United States. Thank you for joining in. And before you challenges we had. But thank you for joining in within that short notice, and we hope our participants will be able to enjoy the rich presentation you have for us. Thank you very much. Mr. Bolu, please, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adelaide.
Good afternoon, noble colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me. Happy Democracy Day to all of us. I'm very happy to be here this afternoon to share my thoughts, even though I had imagined that I was coming to speak to young estate surveyors and valuers. But I am being told now that even some of our senior colleagues are also listening to me. So I'm saying for the senior colleagues, I'm speaking to your consciousness, or to your conscience, sorry. Because there's nothing I would say that you do not know or have not heard before, but you may not necessarily practice or imbibe for whatever reasons. Our chairman, I thank you very much for the wonderful job that you're doing, and your ESCO too, you are doing a brilliant work. This initiative is excellent. Young and passionate essays of yours and values. As a matter of fact, I love the acronym YPESB. I have a friend who I call YP, so it's easy for me to relate to this YPESB. Let me also thank Mr. Odeleye, even though he attempted to embarrass me by giving me only 3 days notice. But because of my passion for the profession and the need to ensure that young professionals are properly groomed, I said, you know what, the short notice notwithstanding, I will still be part of the program. So I thank you for having me. I think for the young and passionate essays of yours and valuers, of course, the time is now because you must catch them young. I learned music in my old age, and every time my music teacher wanted to chastise me, but in a decent way because I'm older than him, he would always tell me that, you know what, if you don't learn something properly when you are young, if you learn it the wrong way or the inappropriate way, when you are old, it's almost certain that you will never learn to do it the right way. So for the young and passionate essays of yours and valuers, welcome on board. For me, I've looked at the topic and the operating words, of course, for those who haven't seen or those who have forgotten, let me quickly say that the topic is poise and professional ethics for nobles. The operating words in the topic would be poise, ethics, and nobles. But Mr. Odeleye, not wanting to burden me so much, said I should leave out the poise. What he does not know is that I had a mentor who was just on grooming. So if I needed to speak about poise, that wouldn't have been a problem for me. But I'm glad that listening to Mrs. Akomolide's profile, I'm sure she will do justice more than I can do to that. So let me go to those that concern us as noble colleagues. I've looked up some of the words. For ethics, it says moral principles that govern a person's behavior or the conducting of an activity. Noble in the context that it has been used here, because noble can mean several things, but in the context that it has been used here, says having or showing fine personal qualities or high moral principles or ideals. So now when you talk about poise and professional ethics for nobles, you have an idea of what we're talking about for professional ethics. You have an idea of what or who nobles are or what is expected of them. But let me elaborate a bit on the behavior or what is expected of the nobles. Every noble must have integrity. Please note that. You cannot be a noble, you cannot be one of us if you do not have integrity. It is critical. For integrity, you are looking at honesty, which of course you will see in our logo, honesty and devotion. There must be your consistent and uncompromising adherence to strong moral and ethical principles and values. It is critical. It is critical. If you do not have integrity, you do not qualify to be referred to as a noble. Of course, in ethics, integrity is regarded as honesty and truthfulness or accuracy in one's action or activity. Now, if you're a noble, you must flee, and I'm using this word in its strongest terms. You must flee from fraud, You must flee from fraudulent people, and you must flee from fraudulent transactions. I've seen all sorts, but because of time, I'll just give you a few examples. Recently, I met an elderly couple who had engaged one of us to manage their property in Apapa. Our colleague let the property for 4 million. He told the landlord he let for 3 million. Even the 3 million, he did not deliver to the landlord. He delivered only 2 million and then took off to the US. Clearly, that person cannot be a noble colleague. Clearly, because what he has done is, strictly speaking, is fraud. I asked the landlord what rent was indicated in his tenancy agreement, and he said it was 3 million. So how did you then confirm that your rent was 4 million? He said the tenant sent a copy of his own agreement to him. So you gave the tenant an agreement for 4 million because the tenant paid 4 million, and then you gave the landlord an agreement for 3 million, believing that the landlord will never find out. That is fraud. There's no other name for it. So please flee from fraud, from fraudulent people, and from fraudulent transactions. I also saw a colleague who put the salary of his driver on a service charge account for a property that is managing. Your driver is not an estate staff associated with this property. Why is his salary on the payroll of the estate staff? That is also fraud. Of course, we must also stay away from bribery and corruption. I'm sure it's easy for you to say, you know what, as a professional, particularly those of us in private practice, I cannot be bribed, but that is not correct. You can be bribed very easily. You know, I have been involved in a situation before. The tenant, a prospective tenant came, viewed the property. It was actually a couple. They were not particularly interested, so they went away. 1 week later, the property was let. In a few days, the couple came back and they said they were interested. And we said, oh, sorry, this property has been let. What did they do? They called me aside and they offered me money. You know, but let us thank God. For me, I have always known that it is wrong, absolutely, that you must not accept or give bribe. So do not say that because you're in the private sector, you cannot be bribed. You can also be bribed to inflate your valuation figure. You know, for pecuniary reasons, somebody can say, oh, please take something, help us, the property is worth 50 million, make it 150 million. That is fraud. Don't do it. If you make a mistake genuinely, you can defend it, but not when you have been compromised. That is absolutely wrong. Do not be an avarice. I'm sure we all know what that is, what that means. When you have this extreme penchant for greed or wealth or material things, you are an avarice. You cannot be honest, you cannot be a noble colleague or a noble if you are an avarice. Because of time, I will try and run through these things very quickly. Of course, you must be discreet at the highest level. We're not running a cult, but it is also critical that information that has been given to you or that you have been exposed to, you must learn to be discreet with it. I met a young colleague at a party, and maybe to impress me, or maybe he was just being boastful, he then went on about the transaction that he did recently in his office. He told me the name of the vendor, told me the name of the purchaser, told me how much the property was sold for, and how much they earned. And after a while, I had to ask him, will your boss be happy if he knew that you shared all this information in the public space? I hope he has learned his lesson. The only information that would have been relevant to me would have been the property was sold, and this is how much it was sold for. Who bought it? I don't need to know. Who is selling? I do not need to know. So we must be discreet. We must also be humble, you know, because really humility comes with being noble. You must be dutiful, you must be diligent, and most importantly, you must be patient. Let me say that I am not saying you must be patient to discourage you, because if you are young and you are passionate, there are so many things that you want to achieve because of your passion, which I appreciate. But your patience must be such that you are properly grounded in the profession. Because if you are impatient, if you believe that you know it all, you might then end up disgracing yourself and the rest of us. Because you then run into certain technical situations that you cannot deal with because you have not received proper training. And the only reason why you did not receive that proper training is because you were impatient. Now, for some people, some of these virtues came naturally. But for some of us, we have had to learn the virtues. So how do you learn these virtues? The first is you must seek and acquire knowledge. How do you seek and acquire knowledge? Read books, either they're professional books, inspirational books, biographies of successful people, autobiographies, journals, publications. Incidentally, there's a publication that all of us can read in less than 1 hour. I'm just going to flash it briefly on the screen. I doubt if all of us read it. That's it. You know, I'm sure my chairman will look at this and say, yes, I know what it is, and I read it immediately. If you read this and you abide with what you can see how I think it's probably just about 8 pages. As a matter of fact, you can finish reading it in less than 1 hour. I mean, 1 hour is an exaggeration. You finish reading it in 20 minutes. And in 20 minutes of reading, you then know what is expected of you as a professional estate surveyor and valuer. So it is important for you to read. Now, you must also attend seminars, conferences, you must go for courses. I mean, I've had to retrain myself, not once, not twice, 3 times. You know, but I am happy that I did that because I can tell you that I know that those retraining have made me a better person. You know, now, of course, the new normal webinar, all of us must also attend because it's an opportunity for you to continue to learn. Initially, I talked about mentoring. You must have a mentor or mentors. I had 2 mentors. One was a professional mentor, one was a social mentor. You might find that interesting, but the truth of the matter is that I had a mentor who encouraged me and guided me, and he would say, you are dressing in a way that is fit for purpose. And I appreciate that. For instance, it's not unusual for some people to say they want to dress down on Fridays. I don't query it, but believe me, you will never find me dressing down on a Friday because first and foremost, I see myself as a marketer. And I recognize the fact that when you see me, you already have an impression. If you like what you see, my job is made easy. But if you don't like what you see because I'm wearing faded jeans that is torn at the knee, you know, all in the name of dressing down, then of course I know I have to do more work to kill that sale. For my professional mentor, he taught me perseverance. So don't imagine that, oh, there isn't so much money in this profession, let me try my hands on someone else. It's good to diversify, but it is also good to master what you're doing before you then say you want to try diversification. And even that diversification, if it is within the scope of your profession, it can only be better for you. So mentoring. And then of course there's peer review, which I know my chairman is also aware of. Peer review is an opportunity for collaboration. It's an opportunity to measure your success or otherwise. You know, where are you in relation to your peers? What are they doing that you are not doing? How can you improve yourself? What can you learn from them? What can they learn from you? You know, it's not about rivalry. And even if it is rivalry, it is not unhealthy rivalry. All of us are in the same industry. We must share. Oh, this is what I do. You know, as a matter of policy, this is what we do in the office. Let me give you a recent example. In view of COVID-19, we have developed protocols for one, coming to our office, two, viewing properties. Those protocols that we developed, apart from the fact that we shared with some of our colleagues and even other professionals, there were also protocols that were shared with us. So if you want to view a property with my office now, before you come, we would have told you there cannot be more than 2 people. You cannot bring children. You know, all the doors, whoever is going to open the property for you will be there ahead of you. We're leaving the doors open, don't touch anything. You know, so these are protocols that you can share with your colleagues, with your contemporaries. And by doing that, you are earning miles, you're not losing anything. So you must always engage in peer review. It is critical. That way you know where you are at any point in time. You know what your market share is, if that is possible. And then you know how to improve your game. Now, this is what Ayo wanted me to speak about, because we had a few minutes chat yesterday. He said I should talk about some unethical practices. Let me say that the unethical practices are so many. But the essence of this webinar is to correct as many as we can correct, in the hope that moving forward, at least we know that because we have talked about these ones, you won't be involved anymore. The first one that crossed my mind is something as simple as putting multiple boards on a property. First and foremost, it's against the ethics of your profession. Your rules and regulations says you shouldn't do it. Secondly, the sky is so big for all birds to fly without hitting one another. So why are you after a property that you know your colleague hasn't given an instruction? It is totally unnecessary. That said, if somebody calls you and he says, oh, I want you to let this property for me, and he discloses to you fully that I've engaged another firm, then what you are supposed to do is to do a joint letting board. Don't go and put your board there. It is unethical. It is unreasonable. On my street, this is what I tell my colleagues in the office. On my street, there are 52 properties. Only 4 of those 52 are managed by noble colleagues. The remaining 48 are either the landlords or some other agent somewhere. So if anybody were to put a to-let board on a property on my street now, the first thing that will cross my mind is collaboration. Not that I also want to meet that landlord, because there are other 48 properties that have not been spoken for that I can get involved with. So please let us stop it. We had an experience recently. Somebody did that with us. And what I said was, I told my colleagues in the office, go and remove our board, because I would not want to be caught dead doing that. So we removed our board. The landlord got angry and he said, why did you do that? I said, it's against the ethics of my practice. He said, but I didn't tell your colleague to put his board there. So he's the one that should remove his board. That we met somewhere and I told him that I have a property to let. You know, I was standing in front of a property. This young estate surveyor met me there. He said, good afternoon, sir, I've been looking for you. And I thought he knew me personally. So I said, really, what for? He said, oh, I'm told you are the owner of this property, which wasn't true. So I said, what do you want? He said, oh, I have a client who is interested in the property. I said, has your client viewed the property? He said, no. So how do you know your client is interested in property? Oh, we've been looking around here for something. I said, okay, go and meet the agents, you know, with the to-let bodies on the table. He said, no, we don't deal with agents. And I said, excuse me, are you not an estate agent? He said, yes. So how come you don't deal with estate agents? That can't be right. If you're an estate agent, how can you collaborate? The worst that you would say is that, oh, you are worried about your fee. But I can tell you 100% about that practice, that they will never ask you for a fee. So why don't you want to go to them? You know, so that's one. So please let us stop putting multiple boards. Secondly, do not advertise a property that you don't have a direct brief. It doesn't make sense. You know, you are disgracing all of us. You are embarrassing all of us. You know, because when I see an advert, I take it that if I show interest, you can take me to conclusion or completion. But when I see an advert, and you then tell me that you're speaking through somebody that, you know, people have a way of coining strange names, like you're a sub-agent. What's a sub-agent? There's nothing like that. It's either you are the agent or you are not the agent. There's nothing like you say you are the sub-agent. So please don't advertise, you know. This one, like I said, I'm speaking to the conscience of the senior colleagues who are listening in, you know. Please do not collect agency fee from the parties to a transaction. You are collecting agency fee from tenants, you are collecting agency fee from landlord. First and foremost, apart from the fact that it is wrong, you also preclude your colleagues from collaborating with you. And don't forget, what goes around comes around. It is your turn today. I mean, like you are the one letting today. Who says you will not need your professional colleagues the day after? We were involved in one that was so bad that the then president of the institution said he was going to take it up. But I said, you know what? I think you should just leave it. Because if you take it up, you will then be said that it is because you are my friend, not because the fellow did what was wrong. You know, let me, however, say that if there is full disclosure, because your code also allows you, like for instance, there's full disclosure between the two parties that, okay, I am going to pay you 2%, let the other party pay you 3% or 1% or whatever percent. That is different. But in a situation where you have already negotiated and agreed your fee with your principal, that should be it. Now, some people also say, and this is very important, they say, oh, my client is not paying my fee. That should not be heard from you as a professional. Whoever briefs you should pay you. If he's not willing and ready to pay you, don't take the brief. And if you don't take the brief, and you believe verily that your professional colleagues will not take the brief, let the man then go and do the job himself. So don't go about saying the reason why I'm asking for that fee is because my client is not paying a fee. But short of a better expression, please, it is stupid. I'm not abusing anybody, but it is stupid. So please let us, if you want to work for free, work for free. But do not say that, oh, because it's not paying your fee, you are then going to ask the other party. Don't inflate valuation figures. We've discussed that before, so I'll just go on. Don't collect bribe from prospective tenants. We've also discussed that. Now, don't collect bribe from sitting tenants. You want to increase the rent because the rent for similar properties in the neighborhood has gone up. The tenant then induces you to remain because he knows that the landlord is relying on your judgment. You then say, oh, the rent hasn't gone up because of your pecuniary gain. Please don't do that. There's also a terminology that I find ridiculous that my professional colleagues use. They talk about padding or topping. There's nothing like that. There's absolutely nothing like that. If your client says how much is the property worth, and you tell him it is 100 million, if he says he wants 105 million, go to the market and test the market and see whether you can achieve 105 million. Don't agree to a situation where he says anything you get over 105 million, take it. There's nothing like that. If you check your scale of professional fees, there's nothing that says whatever you get over and above a certain figure, you can take it. There's nothing like that. So when your client says oh, go and take over and above. You politely say no, sir, or no, ma. This is what we're selling for. When we first sell, this is my fee. Now, some people also come to you and they say they have a client who is willing to pay more than you have asked for. The difference, are you going to give it to us? Please never agree to do that. That is fraud. It is fraud. Don't do it. So we should get rid of those terminologies in our practice completely. No topping, no padding. Also, do not deride your professional colleagues in the course of looking for work. When you get to the prospective client, do not say that, oh, that firm, they are not competent. Let the man decide that himself, not you saying that your professional colleague is incompetent. Like I said, what goes around comes around. Someday, somebody is also going to tell the same person that you two, you are incompetent. So be careful what you say. I've always said this, estate agency is not about lying. So when you review a property, say it the way it is. If you want, you can enhance or you can embellish the good part of it, but do not lie outrightly. Do not say something is there when it is not there. And if you do not know, say you do not know. Please do not lie. Estate agency is not about lying. Do not embezzle your client's money. You know, you are the custodian of people's wealth. And you don't want to destroy your career. You don't want to kill your clients by embezzling their money. Don't do it. It can only bring shame to you and to your profession. So please do not embezzle. In this regard, I must tell the young ones, you must have a minimum of 2 accounts. There must be a client's account which can never be overdrawn, which is different from your partnership account. If you want, you can overdraw your partnership account, you can borrow your partnership account, but on your client's account, it must never be overdrawn. Because really, it is money coming in from your clients, and for your clients kept in your custody that is in that account. And the only thing that belongs to you in that account is your fee. And your fee cannot be negative. It can only be 0 at the minimum. We've talked about being involved. I don't know how much time I have. Unfortunately, because we started late, I didn't time myself. But let me just go to what I would say will be takeaways for the young surveyors. I've said you must acquire knowledge. You must also develop yourself. But knowledge is in 2 parts. There's a soft skill and then there's a hard skill. The hard skill is what we go through when we go to school. But in the business environment of today, you also need to acquire soft skills like emotional intelligence. It is critical. Negotiating skills, it is critical. There are several soft skills and they are bound everywhere. So just look out for them and acquire them. You must also deploy technology in your practice. I've talked about collaboration with other professional colleagues because that is the way the world is going. You must also find a way to balance work, family, and play. You must travel to see the way things are done all over the world. It would amaze you that there are opportunities next door in Republic of Benin. I have been there. I don't know about now, but the last time I went there, they did not have estate surveyors and valuers. Architects wrote the evaluation report for mortgage purposes. So you can imagine what would happen if 20 or 25 of us from Lagos were to start a professional body in Republic of Benin. You would then imagine that there's a language barrier. Let me surprise you, most of them speak Yoruba. So if you can't speak French, you can at least communicate very well with Yoruba in Republic of Benin. Finally, which of course I know that Mrs. Akomolede is also going to speak about, please be presentable. That is critical. I hope I haven't spent more than 20 minutes.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're right on time. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. You've spoken about a lot of things. You mentioned that we should be honest, we should have integrity, that we should be dutiful, diligent, and discreet. Of course, I don't know if companies will start telling people to sign this non-disclosure agreement. Maybe STFF should start telling their staffs to sign that. We should be discreet, and we should be patient as well as be ready to persevere. And you also mentioned a lot about mentoring and peer review. To the ethical aspects, you said that we should remove padding from our dictionary. There's nothing like padding. And then we should stop placing multiple boards on properties. I know there are some questions that that people have raised already, and thank you for that presentation. I'm sure I have Mrs. Oluwafunmilola Akomolede.
Yes,
Thank you very much, ma. Good afternoon, ma.
My video is paused, so can you unpause my video, please?
Okay. Okay, I think that's done now.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, ma.
You're welcome, sir.
Yes. You have the floor. We really want to know how, I read somewhere, and most of us know that in the royal family, before they allow you to go out, they must have tutored you on how to wave, how to smile, what you need to do outside. As estate surveyors and valuers, how should we conduct ourselves outside, even when we are with our other colleagues? What are the principles? What are the things we should do? And it's a known adage that the way you present yourself, that's the way you'll be addressed. So, Ma, you have the floor. Thank you very much.
Okay. Do you still want me to go on the topic you gave to me, and then the add-on will also be done as well. Am I echoing to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I'm not an estate surveyor valuer, but I have some knowledge in the industry. And I've also, okay, I see Mr. Adele. Can I just go ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the first speaker already spoke about a lot of things, and he mentioned fraud. But I'm going to use the word ethics because the topic that I've been given is about ethics. Ethics is a principle, and ethics actually came up after so many frauds were committed, like a decade or more ago. It's concerned about individuals and the society, and is described as a moral philosophy. The term was derived from the Greek word ethos, which can mean custom, habit, character, or disposition. But the fundamentals of ethic, the first speaker already mentioned them. Integrity, objectivity, professional, competence, due care, confidentiality, and also professional. If you can take note of all those points. When you have those key values, it's going to guide you, because in ethics itself, there's not a right or wrong way, but once you have those core values, it will lead you to your goals. and will also help you in determining and making decisions. Your integrity, your professionalism, your honesty, your competence would go a long way in whatever you do and in life. And that takes me to your profession, which is estate valuation. And in the estate valuation, some of the estate valuers will also be doing renting, you know, all sorts, all combined together to make ends meet. There's so many things that you can learn as an estate valuer, especially the young ones. Your integrity is key in all that you're doing from the beginning. Mr. Olanrewaju, I don't want to be repeating some of the things he has mentioned, but he collaborated it with fraud, which is also ethics. It comes under ethics. When you overinflate, underinflate, lies, which at the end of the day, you might think I've gotten away with it. But it comes round in future, and then you'll be shocked. And once you lose your integrity as a young professional, it's tough to have people to trust you. When you're not trusted, it's part of ethics. Can your word be taken as a yes and your nay be nay? As a wife of a Rotarian, he will always say, is it fair to all concerned? Is it the truth? They have a four-way test. I'm not a Rotarian, but I'm married to a Rotarian. So he uses that word a lot. And it's a guide and a check of ethics, which whatever you want to do, yes, this is for young professionals, but as adult professionals, there's no harm in still learning. We learn every day. We might have made some mistakes, but listening to different topic sessions can redirect each one of us back to the track that, oh, I never knew this was unethical, but now today I've learned that it's unethical. As you can, when you read my profile, yes, I'm a full Nigerian, studied in Ife, but then when I got out of this country, I took the good things over there. There's a lot of ethical stuff, which every year you have to attend ethical trainings, certain number of hours in a year. Every year, it's not, oh, I did it last year. No, every year you must attend the classes, and you must recertify yourself. And this is part of what you guys are doing right now. Using this avenue, virtual or not virtual, to rededicate, to recommit yourself about ethics. What are the right ethics in your profession? It cuts across board. And Mr. Olanrewaju has mentioned a lot of it. I don't want to start repeating it. Going through the words of estate valuers, which is also the same thing he has said. There's a word called, and he also had it in his books that I've gone through. There's what is called gazondering, which is when you collaborate with a client, and then you already have a client who wants to buy, everything is done, and then you use that client to negotiate with another client. The seller might not be aware, but in future, the seller and the buyer might get along and they're friends, and the truth will come out. How do you want to showcase yourself? Ethics, integrity, trust, you've lost it. And there's another thing, which is the opposite, which when you have already negotiated, you're done, you got what you wanted, you will now use that because the buyer is your friend and you just realized you have a family relationship. And then you lower the price and you go back to the client. It's unethical. It doesn't give you integrity. And on and on and on. And we read it in the papers where an estate valuer will advertise a house and collect money. It could be an agent from about 10 prospective clients, and they will disappear with the money, which again, Mr. Larivaju mentioned the typical one that left the country. You might think you'll never come back, you never know. Am I speaking to someone? Can you hear me? Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay. So coming from my background with ethical, we also have clients' information because like you have read from my profile, I came from a background of accounting and communication and information technology. So we have data for all our clients. Key datas, your name, your date of birth, everything that identifies you. It should not be disclosed. As a professional, you must learn to have NDA, which is called non-disclosure. Keep your clients' information safe and work with all your employees by training and retraining them all the time about ethics. So when you're done with this topic today, you must go back and disseminate the information to those who have not been opportune, those that work with you in the office, the young ones coming up, they are younger ones, and continue to train and retrain them of ethics. And as the country is evolving and the environment, different turbulence and different laws coming out, there will be more and more ethical issues coming up. So this, as young professionals, you have to be up to date to get on with what is ethical and what is unethical. I don't want to bore you with some of the things that I already have, but Mr. Larivaju have already spoken about them. So there's no need repeating it. And I think Mr. Adeleye, you mentioned dress code and all that stuff, right? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. We can hear you. Yes, I mentioned that. Yeah, Poise.
Part of my assignment, but she just wanted me to touch briefly on that, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. As a young professional, you must always ever be well dressed as if you're going to meet a prospective client. It doesn't have to be Monday through Friday. Every time when you dress, you must be well presentable, because especially in this side of the world, I know there are people that don't understand Yoruba, but I'll translate it. There's something they say in Yoruba, "Irimisi ni isonilojo." Let me try and translate it for those who don't understand Yoruba. That is the way you present yourself, first appearance, it's key to who you're going to meet. and how they respond back to you. So as young professionals, even as matured professionals, we should always be dressed appropriately, presentable, and not also just dressing. You must smell good. You must smell good, because you asked me to talk about it. I don't know why you said that. Maybe somebody gave you some hints, but it is key. You look presentable. You must also smell and attract. And that takes me to grooming. How do you have a young man who doesn't comb his hair? And then he comes to talk to you and you cannot even breathe. That pushes the client away, depending on the type of client you're meeting. It is key. I'll give you an example. I exercise early in the mornings, and there's this young man that I meet every time. But as soon as I'm approaching him, I will breathe, I will take hold of my breath. But I'll just greet him and I will just run past. So now I have another lady who joined me, and we're like couple running, and she said, "Oh, I have to hold my breath." I said, "Why?" He said, "Oh, that guy stinks." I'm like, wow. So it's not just me, it's our environment perception. And guess what? He might not even know. So for that part, I'm just using that example. When we're going out, we must regroom. Our environment is hot, is humid. So for young professionals, please present and smell good. Use your deodorant and use your perfume, because you're out in the sun all the time, viewing and taking clients to different locations, and also sitting in their vehicles, or they have to sit in your own vehicle. So you co-mingle. Yes, there's COVID, but you still have people sitting in front of your vehicle, and maybe you at the back, or you meet at the location to view at the same time. So present yourself well, look good, groom yourself well, and and smell good. That's all I have for you guys. I hope I've not gone over my minutes. Thank you for inviting me to this webinar. I hope I don't want to use the word minister, I'm not a pastor. I hope I made sense in what I've presented, and it will be useful for now and for future. Thank you very much, everyone. And thanks to my daughter, who actually approached me and said, "Mommy, can you speak on this?" I said, "Anything for you." So I'm sure she gave you some hints. Tell her to talk about grooming. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Matt. Yes, we can attest to Tolu's grooming, and she has the poise, and she has all what you have said. Thank you very much. Yes, and I need to say this, man. We are all ministers, because we are all presenting one way or the other, and we are in service to humanity. Thank you very much, man. I can see a lot of questions. People are already asking some questions, but before we go ahead, I have an elder on the floor. He happens to be my dad also, Elder Odele. I'll ask him to unmute himself now, and he has one or two things to say to us. Elder Odele, can you hear us, please?
Please.
Please, you have the floor, sir.
Are you with me?
Yes, we can hear you now, sir.
Oh, very good. I have to thank all the facilitators for their wonderful contributions, and I'm sure we are getting the better for this seminar that we're having. Now, I just like to comment on some areas of this poise we are talking about, and the fact that we need to reflect professionalism in all that we do. When we are talking about professionalism, it starts with your knowledge, your capacity. When a professional talks, he shouts in addressing issues. So professionalism to the core. As a matter of fact, I will improve. We have used honesty and devotion for quite a while. I want us to see if it's possible to change it to integrity, excellence, and integrity and excellence in professionalism. If we can, I'm sure it will also add some value to what we are doing. There must be respect for seniority. Sometimes you go to a conference and a junior person is sitting down, and to get up and allow a senior person, a fellow, to take a seat, he will be arguing that, oh, I was there before, I was there before. Things like that do not augur well within a professional circle. I think we should reflect orderliness. Some people will be
Hello, sir. Can you hear us? I think you're breaking.
when taking refreshment, it's a tea break, and some people will be shunting, they'll be acting in an unruly manner. This I'm with you. Oh, okay, it should be the network.
Okay,
Decorum is very, very important in what we are doing. And there's this thing we call difference. Are you with me? Difference. When we are among ourselves, we should defer to seniority. Of course, the seniors will also, but I know respect should be mutual. It's sensey at all times. This of communication, it is important. Determine how you will be addressed. Just like the time, dressed. Your head court should not reflect that somebody is a yamatanga, a professional. Will now do a head court that will reveal him like a tout or a ruffian. And of course, your dressing must be decent, look corporate. You may never be able to imagine meeting a king in a day, as if you are meeting a governor every day, such that people will start attaching respect to such professionals. These are very, very important, and they are key. Don't forget, knowledge is the very first thing, because your knowledge will determine your competence level. And when you are competent, you will radiate confidence. You know, all these are very, very important. And I hope I've been able to add
thank you very much, sir.
To the points being discussed. Thank you very
Thank you very much. Yeah, we appreciate all what you've said. The network didn't allow us to enjoy it like we would, but we were able to hear a lot of what you mentioned. You talked about knowledge, that we need to work on our knowledge because
Are you with me? Okay.
Yes, sir. We would be able to show our competence, and then through that we will be confident. And then you mentioned, just like Mrs. Oluwafunzola Akomolede mentioned, that we should watch our dress sense. Our dresses as Estes and Valuers is very important. She mentioned the fact that we need to smell nice. Yes, that we need to smell well at all times, and we need to dress well. And you also mentioned something about decorum, respect, and deference. I know a lot of people will have questions about most of what you've said, and this is accommodated too. So I'll just quickly go to the question and answer session. Someone is asking on bribery and corruption. Mrs. Akomolede, I know you are not an estate surveyor, but I think bribery and corruption is like a societal issue, and we just want to have your view about it. What's your view and position on what we call PR, public relations, on referral for job in view of ethics?
Thank you very much, sir. It's distinct. You have the PR, which is the public relations, and then you have the bribery and the corruption, which is unethical. The bribery is something that is you act upfront. The corruption is either you're introduced to, or you're co-opted into it, and then, which is also part of the ethical, no integrity. You'll be tested in all ways of life, not even as an estate valuer or surveyor. It cuts across all board. The PR thing is a way of saying thank you. If you did not ask, where I worked, there's a limit to what you can accept, and you must disclose it. There's a limit to what you can take as PR, and you must also disclose it. So that kind of guides you when you're accepting, So, but here in this country, in our country, the PR can come after in a way of saying thank you, Christmas, Easter, as long as you did not demand for it. You can bring referrals, and the client will decide, oh, thank you, ma, thank you, sir. Here's a little token for you. Here's a little gift. Those are okay. But again, on your own personal ground, you might decide, I appreciate it, but I don't want it. Because that also will determine your growth in life. And I'll give you an example. I met a young lady, and I sent her on an errand, and I had my change left. She refused and said, no, ma. Apparently, I think she has a little bit, or maybe she knows somebody who knows me, and they've told her that she can help you. So maybe that was behind her mind. Then she did something for me, another opportunity came across, and I offered her money. She refused again and said, no, ma, I don't want it. 3 months down the line, she called me and said, ma, I need your help. I need an admission in the University of Lagos. Can you help me? I left all that I was doing. I had to follow her to the head of that department. I took her personally. Whatever I have offered her in the beginning was peanut to what she needed when we got to the department. And I didn't have a choice but to continue to help her. So in life, if we think beyond those little PRs and think through it that, you know what, I just did my job. you don't have to take it all the time because you might have better opportunities with that same person in future. That's my little contribution on PR, bribery, and corruption.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you for that. Mr. Lariwaju, Mrs. Akomoleta has mentioned, has discussed on the receiving aspect. Can you just help us discuss on the giving aspect? Is it good to give PR in lieu of a job that you know, well, one way or the other, your office is either qualified for or not qualified for it? So what's your position on that, sir?
Thank you. If you give before the job, it's an inducement, bribery. There's no other word for it, and it's wrong. As a matter of fact, it is very, very wrong, not just wrong. If after the job has been done, if there is a special occasion and you're saying, oh, it's Christmas or it's Baka de Sala, and you're sending something, which must be a token, because most offices have a threshold beyond which you cannot go. Like most corporate environments, the limit, the maximum amount of a gift that you can buy is 150,000 naira. So if you're buying a pen for some person and it's 50,000 naira to say thank you, it's Christmas, that's fine. But if you are given, even after the job has been done, as an indication of your appreciation of what has been done for you, that is also wrong. I hope I'm clear about it. That is different from collaborating. Like, for instance, you find people who say that they are agents and they approach you and they say, oh, I'm not qualified to do this job. I know you are qualified. So we're collaborating. So if you do it this way, do it this way, do it this way, let us agree on the fee that comes to me. That is different. But for the person who is giving out the job, if after you have received your fee, you then go back with, first and foremost, a cash gift, clearly is a bribe. Because what you're saying is, take this in anticipation that more jobs will come. That's what you're doing, pure and simple. So it is wrong. But if there is an occasion that is celebrated, let me share an experience with you. We did a job in Abuja. After we had finished the job, it was extremely difficult to get our fee. Because first and foremost, we were told that the allocation for FCDA, only one contractor was going to be given all the money because the allocation was that small. So somebody in the system now whispered to us that, oh, after all, you guys are from Ibadan. Don't you know one big man in Ibadan? I won't want to mention his name. Said, go and meet him. He must be able to get your money for you. Of course, we didn't know the big man, but we knew someone who knew him. So we sent that person to him. And he said, okay, you know what? Bring your file number. We gave them the file number. They called us. Now, if you remember, they said they didn't have money and they were going to pay their whole allocation, they were going to give to just one contractor. So they called us and said, you know what? Come and collect. Then we could pay any amount with checks. So they gave us some central bank checks for about 65 or 70% of our fee. So, of course, excitedly, we went to Ibadan to say thank you to the man who helped us to speak to the big man. So the man then said we should wait. Let him also go and say thank you to the big man. So he went to meet the big man that, oh, your children, they've been paid. They came from Lagos to say thank you to me. And that's why he said, did you bring them? He said, no, they're in my house. He said, that's fine. So the big man now asked, knowing the way business is done in Nigeria, he said, what should they send to Abuja? And the man who did all the work, he said, don't send a penny to Abuja. Those young boys, they deserve their money. They have worked. Let them earn their pay. However, if the minister is launching a book, because I know he's launching a book in a matter of 2 months or 3 months, you can go there and buy 10 copies for 50,000 naira. You can buy 10 copies for 100,000 naira. You can buy 20 copies and donate to some libraries for 150,000 naira. That's fine, but not 1 penny. And he says if you miss the book launch, when it's Christmas, buy a turkey and go and give him. So bottom line is that indeed we should not, if you don't give and I don't give and the job needs to be done, I mean, what's going to happen? The job will still be given to one of us, which is why we must collaborate. When you get a job as a professional colleague, I should be excited for you. And when I get a job, you too should be excited for me. So absolutely, if you don't give and I don't give, and they need to do that job, then of course you cannot begin to dictate to us. But because we're in a rat race, you know, you want to outdo your colleague, and that's why you continue to begin to agree. One agency of government said they wanted to do evaluation about a year ago, and they said everybody should submit bids. And before the bids were opened, I am aware that some of our professional colleagues had already approached the directors in the place, because one of the directors actually told me that he was offered 2 million naira by a professional colleague for a job that has not been awarded. Do you know what became of the project? Those bids were never opened. Those bids were never. I'm sure some of my colleagues who are listening now will probably know the job I'm talking about. Those bids were never opened. And that is 2 million naira down the drain. What are you talking about? So really, it is wrong. Let's call it a spade. It is wrong.
So if I may ask, sir, where does PR come in for estate surveys?
Like I said, it is Christmas, it is layer, it is coming. You want to buy something for them to say, yes, you're saying thank you, but you are celebrating the moment with them. You know, that's the PR you should contemplate. Not that you have been paid your fee, you then think of 20% of it or 30% of it, you are taking it back to. If you are caught, I mean, you go to jail. It's as simple as that, because you have broken the law.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Mrs. Akomade.
Both the giver and the taker have committed a crime.
I guess you want to add something to that, Mrs. Akomade.
Yes, he's correct. And like I said when I was speaking of that, there's a limit to gift. You know, there's a cap, and it must be disclosed. And if you look at the chat, my daughter sent a chat. She mentioned that when she was still at levels, which she has told me before, there's a cap to how much you can accept, and it must be disclosed. So until we all get on the same page, you know, to know that once there's a limit to what can be accepted, and it must be disclosed, because sometimes you can even get in trouble. They can lure you to what at the end of the day, you will regret that you collected the amount if you cannot deliver. Just like Mr. Lera, what you said, you gave somebody 2 million and nothing came out of the 2 million. You're already in debt. And it does happen from time to time. So the earlier the young ones, which is what we're talking about, get it, have a professional do's and don'ts on ethics, the limits, make it signed, sealed, delivered. And then, I mean, I know the agents are on the side, those that are not professionals, but once you guys make a difference, then it will go a long way.
Thank you very much, Ma. Okay, I have another question here from Mr. Oluwasegun. And this is to Mr. Olanrewaju. Joint letting board is asking if it's ethical to collaborate with law firms, especially if an estate surveyor was given the instruction first, but the owner decided to extend that instruction to a law firm. What do you do in that situation?
The phone that is ringing. Okay, can you please take it again? I couldn't hear you because of the phone. Hello,
I apologize for that, please. Okay, Okay, so the question is about joint letting board.
Yes.
The person said that is it ethical to collaborate with law firms, especially if an instruction was given to you first, and then at the instance of the owner, decided to extend that instruction to a law firm. That what do you do in that aspect, in that scenario? Do you still do the joint board and your name as an estate surveyor will appear there with the lawyer? How do you handle that?
No, as a matter, you can see that I didn't wait for you to finish. I was answering. You cannot collaborate with a non-professional. The only other name that can show on a joint letting board other than another estate firm is that of a landlord. And I stand to be corrected on that. If you check the code of ethics, you'll find it there. You know, so if a lawyer has a landlord's instruction, it's okay for him to put his board. If an agent who is not an estate surveyor and valuer has the landlord's instruction, it is okay for him to put a board. What we're saying is that two estate firms must not put separate boards. It must be a joint board. So if you are doing a joint board, it's either with an estate surveyor and valuer or with the landlord, but not with the lawyer or an agent or any other person for that matter.
So, sir, please, for proper understanding, so in that scenario, what do you do? Do you say, oh, I can't place my banner here, let the lawyer do that?
No, you have not broken, by putting your board and the lawyer puts his board, you have not broken any law. No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
As far as your profession is concerned, you have not broken any law. What your profession says it does not want is when you and a professional colleague, that professional colleague being another estate firm, not an individual now. You know, so your own firm and that other firm should have a joint board. You know, but if the instruction is also to a lawyer or an estate agent who is not registered with SVABON, then of course it's okay for you to have separate boards there.
Okay, now I understand. Now I get that.
If I may indulge you,
Yes,
if I may indulge you,
yes, sir.
I saw an interesting question here, which is essentially my sister, who is not an estate surveyor and valuer, had directed the mind of an estate surveyor and valuer to before. It says, how do you address the societal pressure to look good when starting a practice? When does not having a car but looks neat? How do young surveyors handle the pressure practically, please? You know what my sister told an estate surveyor that approached her? He said, you know what? In coming to me, you should not come into my house sweating with your shoes dusty. You gave me a 2 o'clock appointment. What you needed to do was to get to my neighborhood, maybe about 15 minutes before 2 o'clock, wipe off your sweat, clean your shoes, take a bottle of Coke or something to cool you down if it is water. So by the time you're coming in my house, you're looking decent. Look, this is not about, I don't know about women, but for men, look, the only way you would know whether the shirt I'm wearing now is expensive or not is if you look at the color, as in you look at the brand. But other than that, this shirt could have been made in Yaba or Nicha or wherever. So what you need to do is, first and foremost, are you neat? Are you presentable? You know, this is not about money now. I'm not saying wear expensive clothing. No, even in your cheap clothing, even if it is khaki that you are wearing, is it clean or dirty? Because if you are wearing something that is expensive and is dirty, you will still present the same, you know, that, oh, I don't wish to deal with you. You will still get that reaction. The fact that what you're wearing is expensive, notwithstanding. So what you're saying is that it's not about money. So whether you are just starting practice, or you're a young estate surveyor and valuer, it wouldn't matter. That's the truth. I mean, like Rome was not built in a day. Let me share a personal experience with you. And I'm saying this with all sense of seriousness. My mother-in-law encouraged my wife to marry me. Very interesting. So when my wife asked her, you hardly know this person, what did you see in him that made you suggest to me to marry him? My mother-in-law said, look at his shoes. Not that they're expensive, but you can see that he's taking care of his shoes. Any man that takes care of his shoes will take care of a woman. Can you beat that?
I agree with you. I agree with you.
It's not about even the shoes. Now, I can't remember what they were. But he has, you know, I told you I had two mentors. One was professional, one was social. So my mentor told me, don't go out with your shoes dusty or dirty. Clean your shoes. You know, and if you must walk there. You know, when you get there, clean. But even my sister, who didn't use the same mentor, told an estate surveyor the same thing. So these are things we need to understand. It's not about money.
Right.
Thank you very much.
It's about presentation,
Yeah.
attitude, image is everything. It's not about money. It's about presentation.
Excellent.
Larry, Waju,
Yes, ma'am.
and let me add to that for
Yes, ma'am.
ladies. You can, when you get almost to the location, in your purse, you must have little sprays because you might have sweated in the bus, whatever. Just respray yourself 5 minutes to the meeting, and it works for both men and women. Respray yourself, clean your face, touch up before you actually meet your client. So that goes a long way.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, there's this question that says, what if a client gives transport fare to young surveyor that went for inspection of his property? Is it wrong to collect?
It's an inducement. I will say no. Don't collect it. When you left your office, were you not given transport money? Or did your principal say that when you get there, you collect transport money to come back? No, it's an inducement. Don't collect it. And let me assure you that the client who gives you that money is going to take it back from you manifold, one way or the other. Let us hope that it's not embarrassing, or he doesn't take it in an embarrassing way, because he can then go public and say you're a thief. At that point, he will never tell anybody that he was the one that offered you, not that you asked. So when you offer transport money, don't take it. Because
thank you very much.
You are being paid transport money. And if you are not paid transport money from your office, you felt compelled to go anyway. And if you didn't meet this client in the location, you would have gone back to your office. So excuse me, what are we talking about? Don't take the money, please.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. We are privileged to have our president-elect on the floor in this meeting. I hope he can hear me. I've enabled your mic, sir. I don't know if you have one or two things to say to us regarding what we are discussing.
Yes.
Poise and professionalism.
Let me first of all thank the resource person and my very good friend Bulu. And again, let me also correct one impression. The elder that came on board that you are allowed to speak on this platform is not only your father, he's the father of the profession, because he is the member of board of trustees. And the board of trustees is like the father of the profession. So he's a member of the profession. So on a lighter note, maybe when you get back home, it's your father, but on this platform, he's the father of all. So I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to us. Let me make one comment. You see, the truth of the matter is that our profession has lost the respect we used to have in those days, just like Daodoleye said. And what I'm happy that the two presenters did very well, especially Bulu Dao, that is our member. A lot of things have gone wrong. Let me give you an experience. I have a job that I did for an oil company, and at the end of the job, my friend called me and said, Emawike, if you want to continue to do job in this place, please don't do what other people are doing. And I said, I don't understand, sir. He said, don't you ever give anybody any money, because if you do, the system will know. And when we know, the person that you are giving the money will be in problem, and you that gave will also be in problem. That is ethics. just to support what they are saying. We're not saying that you should not appreciate people, but you have to be very, very careful, because the way we are now, we are living in a digital world. Some of the things you do that people don't know, people already know that that is what you're doing. So we have to be very careful as professionals. Let us do and act as professionals, do our job, make sure that our reports are professionally written and also accepted by our users. And again, try as much as possible to ensure that we promote estate surveying and valuation as a profession. In as much as we are in a rat race, just like somebody said also, that a lot of people go for job and they want to negotiate before the job. That is against the profession. And again, why we are having so many problems in the profession is because some of our members are cutting corners, which the new administration will not allow. That is why we want to do mentorship. And in our mentoring system, we want a situation where both the senior and the younger ones will mentor each other. Because we are in an era where ICT is in control. Most of our senior colleagues will not know most of the innovation that has come into the profession. So the younger ones have to also carry them along, while they also learn from the senior ones on their experiences, just like Bulu have told us this afternoon. So it's a win-win situation. I want to advise our members, if we keep to our guns, we will still do the job, but if we begin to sell ourselves very low, people will also begin to price us very low. If you have a property you want to value, and the person says, I want to pay you 30,000 naira, and he said, no, I'm not going to accept 30,000 naira. We have a professional scale of charges that I'm going to charge you. And he calls me FMB, and FMB says the same thing. He calls Fancy says the same thing. The man would definitely accept one of the firms to do the job. That is what land surveyors are doing. That is what other professionals are doing. But in our own case, we want to cut corners, we want to be sure, and the complaint is that the economy is hard, the senior surveyors are getting all the jobs. By the time you price yourself very low today, the person you are pricing yourself very low will have already recorded you as somebody that have priced it very low. Now, when the main job comes, he will tell you, no, this person, if you offer him 1 million naira, he will do a job that he would have collected 10 million naira. And the person that insisted that I want to do my job, because that is where the quality, that is where the professionalism comes in. And that is why most of us are having problem with ANCOM. Because ANCOM gave some of these jobs to our members that cut corners. So what we want to do is to review that relationship with ANCOM and say, look, part of what the problem we have is from your system. So let us correct it from your system, and let us also talk to our members for us to do professional job. So I want to thank you for what you're doing. I want to thank Lagos State Branch for what they are doing. I have already told the chairman that we are going to take over this aspect of the program at the national level, where we like young surveyors less than 5 years to belong to this organization, so that at the end of the day they will listen to senior members of the profession, and also listen to among themselves. Like somebody have said, there is no need. So proprietary is an outdated system of practice. We need to come back together and do partnership. Accountants are doing it, lawyers are doing it. You have mega partnership. The essence is that we are collaborating together, putting our synergy together to promote the profession, to promote our practice, so that at the end of the day, there are people who are specialized. Gone are the days they call us jack of all, master of all. No, 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 no. There is specialization all over the world. If you are in valuation, let people know that you are a valuer in valuation. If you are in facility management, let people know that you are a facility manager. If you are an agency, people know that you are an agency. All you need to do is to talk to your friends who have passion for the other aspect of the profession. You can take 3-4 persons and form a mega partnership and move on, so that at the end of the day, you have almost all part of the profession in one place. You have a one-shop practice, but each and every person is specialized in every areas of the profession. So we want to encourage the young ones. There is no need for us to go back to Egypt. Let us emulate what is happening. Let us look at the global practice, and the global practice is specialization. Look at the aspect of the profession that you are competent on, and specialize in that area. And people will know that you are a specialist in that area. Once that job comes, they will definitely look at you. And let me thank Mr. Komolede for her experiences and for her advice. The truth of the matter is that our members have chickened out so much that we need to come back to the drawing board. And one thing I want to do is to still instill the zero tolerance for indiscipline in our profession. We have condoned indiscipline to the level where we hardly can discipline our members, and that is because members don't report. For the few ones they report, I can assure you that the council will need to go back to the drawing board. A lot of things have gone wrong in the profession, and we need everybody to come back to ensure that we discipline our members when they go wrong. That will only send signal to our users to say, yes, these professional bodies, they are ready and they are willing to work for the benefit of our end users. So I want to thank you, Ayo, for what you're doing. I want to thank the chairman and Lagos State branch for what they are doing. Please let us allow this thing to go to the national level, where we like other state branches to also key into it, and let us have this young and passionate estates of yours and valuers to be a national body. And let me thank the resource persons. They have spoken well, and I believe that those of us who are listening will begin to take correction and do our job as professional estates of yours and valuers. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, my president-elect. Before we go, we know our time is fast spent. Mr. Olanrewaju, there's a question from one of our elders in the profession, Ashiwaju Akomolede. He says, taking fees less than the one prescribed by the scale of charges is unethical. How do you relate this to what many banks offer today for valuation jobs? Do you have any comment on that, sir?
Well, yes, I do. Like you had the president elect, and like I said, the reason why that persists is because, well, I always love to use myself or my practice as example. We were invited by a bank about 3 years ago to value 26 properties, 20 in Lagos, 4 in Rivers State, and 2 in Bayelsa. For each property, they were going to pay 30,000 naira. So I wrote a letter to the bank to say, well, thank you for this job, but excuse me, your fee is way too low. So they wrote back and said, okay, for Rivers and Bayelsa, we'll pay 40,000. I said, excuse me, no, it is still too low. That fortunately, one of the properties I know, the one in Victoria Island, which is behind me, there is no way I will ever do such a valuation for 30,000 naira, you know. Apparently, to my, I didn't know, but later I found out, 3 of us were given the same assignment. The second person wrote, as a matter of fact, if you look at the letter that he wrote, because eventually he sent a copy to me, you would imagine that the 2 of us sat down to draft the letter together. He wrote a similar letter, turning down the job. But the third firm took the job. So when I heard that the third firm took the job, I called somebody that I know in the place that, how could you have done this? He said he didn't know about it, but let me link you up with head of valuation. And at the head of valuation said, you know what, 26 properties at 30,000 naira. That's already so much. And that's why they took it. So if the 3 of us had rejected the job, the bank till tomorrow will never offer any estate firm 30,000 naira to do a job. Yes, we're registered with firms, but believe me, we don't go looking for work in the banks. The only reason why we're registered with the banks is that when our client wants to do a valuation for that bank, we do not want a situation where the bank then says, oh, this firm is not registered with us, and because of that, we will not accept their report. But as a matter of policy, we do not go to the banks to look for work. And I can tell you for free, we have never done a 30,000 naira valuation for any bank or anybody for that matter. Because what I say is that rather than charge you 30,000 naira, I would rather do it for free. So bottom line is that if all of us begin to collaborate to the point where nobody is doing the job, the banks will then be forced to review their position. So I agree 100% that for those who are doing it, is highly unethical and unprofessional.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. I would like to thank all our speakers. You know, one thing, one of my take-homes from this session is that excellence is important, and then you know, we've been talking about aspirate the core one way or the other. And one thing I wrote down here, it says that we should always think about our work, our company. We should think about our profession, think about NIESV, and think about Nigeria before you do anything. At this point, I would like to, I don't know if we have, if I can give our speakers 1 more minute to just wrap up for us. Do you have any additional thing to say to us? Or 30 seconds?
Well, I can only say thank you for having me. I enjoyed myself thoroughly, and I look forward to another session.
Thank you very much, sir. Mrs. Akomodede.
Thank you for having me and giving me this opportunity to share some of my knowledge with you guys.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you for honoring our invitation. I hand over to my chairman, Mr.
Okay. Thank you, Ayo. I want to say thank you to the president-elect who is he has consistently joined us on this platform of the YPESV. Thank you very much. Kudos to you and for taking a decision that you're going to make this not just a Lagos branch affair, but to give it the national support which this kind of project has enjoyed in other professions. I want to thank our elder, who is and other elders, particularly Elder Odele, who also gave his own advice to us, a trustee of the institution. I want to thank the speakers, Mr. Olariwaju Bolu and Mr. Komolede. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentations and the answers to the questions we have. I can't begin to repeat those answers again, but there are a number of things you have answered, which I think we need to all go home and dig down on. But firstly, I want to make a few comments. Please permit me in the next 5 minutes, we should be out of here or less than. Number one is that this video for this particular program, YPSV coordinator Ayo, Tolu, Anna, and Bashir, please, we have to make it go viral, all platforms. Let's make sure everybody can see it. Do the link quickly so that people can begin to view it either from our website or through that means, just like the way we always organize. So I hope the secretary is also taking notes. We want to make sure everybody can see this so that people can, you know, all across the institution, so that we can begin to take advantage of the knowledge shared here. Then for every member of the YPSV, those who are registered with YPSV that participated in this program today, I'm going to give you a copy of the ethical code of ethics of ESVABON. I'll give you that personally. So you get to the secretariat from Monday, you can begin to ask for it from the chairman. So that's another thing I want to say. By God's grace, we are still going, I don't know if Mr. Bolu, if you still have the time to come around, but we are going to take this to beyond YPSV. We still want to discuss this because this is at the core, at the heart of our profession. So we're still going to discuss it on a wider platform beyond Young Sobio. So please permit us to do that. I also want to ask for something from you, sir. I hope I'm permitted to ask.
Please go ahead.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, you mentioned a code, a protocol, a COVID-19 practice protocol for your office. I think, yes, you've shared it with some people. I think it's something the whole institution can benefit from. And we will appreciate if you can give us the opportunity to have that on our website and to circulate it with credit given to your office as the source. We will appreciate it if you give us that benefit so that we can all be developing on it.
It will be
And
sent.
it serves as a template, sir.
It will be sent, but the credit does not necessarily need to come to us. Bottom line is we collaborated with a few professionals like ourselves to develop it, and it's something that everybody should know about and have, So to that extent, I'm happy to share so that all of us can stay safe. So
Thank you very much, sir.
Against Monday, we will send a copy to you.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate that. I think that would be a good basis for us to begin to run our business in a different way. This time, I know some people already have a few things that they are doing differently, but for us to have something that we can say is coming from is a consensus among the estate surveyors and valuers, it will be very fantastic. I think that's the way we should go, and that's the reason why you don't have two boards of estate surveyors on the same property. Is for collaboration, and that's what you have offered us, and we appreciate that, sir. But before we go, there are two things I want to ask for from all participants today. If you will oblige me, can we all decide that for all of us on this platform today, that none of us will have two boards of two different firms on the same property? Just like Mr. Bolu said, he saw another person's board who is an estate surveyor on a property he's handling. He even removed his board. It was the owner that said, look, why did you remove your board? Bring it back. Can we all take that decision today and begin to practice it? I think it will help us practice better. In the same vein, can we all take a decision that just as it was done in times of the old, let me just quickly mention at this time, the 6th president of the institution and incidentally the 6th chairman of the Lagos State branch, Alhaji Shote, called me during this program and said that he was not able to log in, but he has been watching it on Facebook because this is streamed live on Facebook, and he appreciated it. But we are going to find a way to bring all these elders to come and participate with us and share experience with us going forward. So can we all take that decision as they used to do in those days? I remember some people still do it. Adeole Tubo, I know Mr. Adeole Tubo still does that, to the best of my knowledge. When you are doing a letting or a lease, as far as the other person bringing the client is an estate surveyor and valuer, you are not going to take a fee from that person on your own property that you are managing. Can we all take that decision? It's a tough one because it's a financial decision in some cases, but it's also a professional and ethical decision. Can we do it? If we take that decision, I will say, okay, if Mr. Bolu or Mr. Ayo Odeleye, they are the only people that deal with me that way, I'm going to deal with them that way. I think gradually we might be able to change the whole landscape the way we practice. Those are my thoughts that I feel I should make known to all participants today. If the 41 of us that were on this platform decide to do that, we might just begin to change the whole institution in a way that we may never know how it will come out to be, but it's going to be glorious. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my chairman. Thank you for that. And I hope SS Surveyor and Valuer Sola Fajigwe add that because there's a question on the chat that says that what can the institution do to correct the unethical practices by banks giving us fees below the scale of charges? And my chairman has said it all. Change begins with just one person. If we all can decide as individuals, as professionals, as estate firms, to say, no, I won't do this valuation if you're offering me peanuts, and nobody takes it from them, then we are the institution. So I don't know why we always say, can the institution? We're actually the institution. Then the institution will be better off for it. On this note, on behalf of my team lead for YPSV. I appreciate everyone, our speakers, our president-elect, our elders, my chairman. Thank you to all participants, those of you that are still even online up to this moment, those that are watching on Facebook. We appreciate you all. Thank you. Till we meet again next time. We will send the flyers and publicity for our next webinar. And this time around, the notice won't be too short. Once again, I need to apologize to our speakers. Mr. Laraji. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, everyone. God bless you. Have a lovely weekend and enjoy the rest of it. Bye.